Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to cover how can we identify or how can we locate web elements and how can we play around them. So first, what is a web element? A web element is any component that is present on the page. And to automate, we need to identify or locate these particular web elements, and we have to use our one of our locator strategy to locate this web element, perform some action, and automate the web browser. So what can be a web element? A web element can be anything. It can be a text box, it can be a label, it can be a button, it can be an image, it can be a drop down, checkbox, radio button, etc. etc. Okay. So uh, there are multiple locator strategies which we have seen, but we are going to see one by one. So traditionally, there are eight locators which are available for the Selenium part. So these are ID, name, class name, etc. So in this video, we're going to cover ID, name, class name, and link text. So what ID does is, so any web element that is present should have an ID. Ideally, it is not an hard and fast rule, but ideally it should have an ID. If it is not present, then we have multiple other ways to locate any web element. Okay. So if that web element has an ID, we can use the locator ID. We're going to see this in the practical way in just right after this. So for the second element, a second locator strategy is name. So an element, let's say a text box or a button, could have a name attribute associated with it. So we can locate this attribute using the name property. And for all these elements, we use find element, and these are traditional approaches. So if let's say if you're searching with name and you have multiple name elements present, so whatever first is captured or what is the whatever is captured, whatever web element is captured first would get saved here. So if you want, if you have, so you must see if it is a unique or not. Okay. And then for class name, it should have a class name. It should not be compounded. Let's say it has multiple classes, then you can use a CSS selector, which we'll see in another video. Link text, let's say any anchor element that is a written as a, and it has some text, you can find it. So link text, search for the particular text, and partial link text is what when it looks for when you don't know the complete name and you want to search that whether it contains this or not. Tag name is basically any, let's say, input, button, anchor, anything else. The next path is an expression, that is what HTML part it is, how this element can be traversed through the XML. Okay. So I have a sample page with you. So today we will be trying to automate this. So it has a username, it has a password, it has a login button. We want to identify these elements, and then we click on login. And after login, we're going to see if it is logging successfully. If it is, we are going to log out. Okay. So first, as I said, these username passwords are web elements. So we are going to identify these web elements as well as login, and then we'll perform actions on this. So let me jump into the Microsoft Visual Studio and we'll start the video now. So first we need to have a test method here. So let us name public void test locators part 1. Fine. And it should be a test method. So let us add the attribute test method. Now again, I need to instantiate my driver. So I'm going to use the same thing which you have seen in multiple times in the video. So we're going to use the Chrome driver type. Okay. Then as usual, we have to navigate to a particular URL. So here we're going to put our URL. and we know URL is this. So this particular app, if I so you can practice on multiple methods. So if you're going to click it, you can see there are many web elements. This is a practice app basically. You can practice anything. Okay. So for we are using this one. So login, and then we have to maximize it so that we can have a better view. Driver.manage dot window dot maximize. Okay, so this is the same thing which we have covered many times. So now we have to identify this element. So we're going to right click and inspect. So let's see what so it has an input type of text, and it has a name username. So it has both ID and name. It could, and both have the capability, both have the attributes. ID is equal to username and name is identified as username as well. If we identify password field, we see that in password as well, they have both the locators, ID as well as name, and both have password in it. So we can identify either by using ID or by name. And let us see for login. So our login method, oh, I'm saying method, so our login button is inside this class radius. So this is quite simple, and I have like chosen this because this is very simple and you can practice it anytime. Okay, so we know that it is inside radius, it is inside password, and it is inside ID. So we can play around, right around it. So first of all, for any for finding any element, we use find element. Okay, and if you press by and you press dot, you're going to see a lot of methods or a lot of identifiers, link name, name, xpath, equal to, and what and not. Okay, so but now we are trying to find it by ID, and ID accepts a string type. So we'll enter what is present here. So this ID is username. So we'll paste it here, and we're going to write username here. To write anything inside a text box, we use send keys. Okay, and send keys accept string, so we are putting inside quotes. Fine. Similarly, for password, we know by ID, and we know the ID is password. So we'll copy this here. We'll copy here dot send keys, and then we're going to write our password here. And for clicking our button, we will use driver.find element by. Now we're using class name. So it is not a compounded class name. So we can use a class name, and it also accepts string type. And to click on any button, like in button or image button or a link, we use click method. Okay. So we have to enter our username. So if we move back to our website, it says enter Tom Smith for the username. So we'll copy this and move back and enter Tom Smith, and password super secret password one for the sorry, exclamation for the password, and then we'll click. Okay. So is in this moment I'm writing thread.sleep. You should never write this, but things are going to happen so fast uh, you would fail to notice visually. Okay, so what we can do is let us try to see if this thing actually works or not. So let us put Tom Smith in the username section, super secret password exclamation in the password, I click on login. Okay. So it is logging in and it is saying secure area. Now we have this logout method as well. So let us inspect this and we can see uh, this is inside class, but this class is compounded one and button secondary radius is also a compounded one. So we can see that this is a link. This is in anchor text, etc. So we can identify it using a link text as well. So let us jump here and write driver dot find element by link text, and it also accepts string. So we'll write string and we are searching for logout and it is of anchor type, so we need to use click operation. And then again going to copy paste this thread dot sleep so that it can wait for a little, and then at the last I'm going to use driver dot quick. So now we are ready with our program or a test method. So what we are doing, we are identifying username, we are identifying the password name field and entering password. I forgot to put class name, so I think it was radius, I believe. So let us log out to see what it is. Yeah, so the type is radius. We are clicking it, we are waiting for 1 second, we are finding it log out, and then we're waiting and it is fine. Okay, so let us debug and see how it is working and if we encounter any error. So I'm debugging it right now. So it is opening our URL and it will maximize. So now we're going to enter our username. So it is enter our username. There goes our password. So password is enter. Now it will identify the click button. It has clicked. Now we are waiting for 1 second. And then we are clicking on logout. And then it is logout. And then we are quitting the browser itself. Okay. So let us do one thing. Let us copy this and paste over here as well so that you can see it. So if we, instead of debugging, if we run this test, let's see how it looks in real time with 1 second of delay. Username, password, login, wait for a second, log out, and then quits. So it is working fine and our test method is complete. So we saw how can we identify using ID, how can we identify any web element using class name, how can we identify any element using link text. And if you remember, we had this username, both ID, it has both ID and name attributes as well. So if I'm going to change here dot ID instead of ID, let me put name here. I'm not changing value inside code, but because it has same values. But in this case as well, you are identifying the web element uh, using the name property as well, the name locator as well. So if I again run this test, it should work fine as it is. So let's see. Open, maximize, enter password, login, wait for a second, log out, and then okay. So this is a quick demo of how can we identify um, our web elements. So in today's video, we saw how can we verify using ID, name, class name, as well as link text. For the rest of thing, I'll make a different video and we can see how we can use all kinds of locator. So remember, these are traditional locators and there are other friendly relative locators as well. These are for complex scenarios, but one can always find all these elements using the same video. So if you have learned something from this video, please do share, like, and subscribe. It helps our channel grow a little bit. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.